Sheriff Becker did notify me that he will be a few minutes late, but will be attending in person. Any public comments at this time? All right, seeing no public comments, we will move on. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting unless there's any additions or corrections.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion by Leichnam, second by Hamilton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say no. All right, motion passes. What I'm gonna do is, do you want to see if she's up at drug court and if she'll be coming down? For those on WebEx, we're just gonna take a short break. Janelle is up at drug court, so we're just gonna wait for her to come down.
Adam Lance,
Yeah,
did you send somebody up to get her? Staffing ends at 1, but they might actually be in session till 2:30.
yep, Kim is going up to get her. She was supposed to be
okay,
there
thanks.
for staffing, but then come down.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say because I was at staffing and that ended about 5 to 1.
Yeah, my guess is she might have stepped in for a minute, but
She
We're going
probably
to-
stepped in to watch the process. Thanks, appreciate it.
Supervisor Fisher,
yes.
who's all in the room? Us on the WebEx don't know. I think I see Supervisor Clendenning there by the door.
Supervisor is here. Supervisor Leichnam. Shannon is here. Kim went upstairs to get Janelle.
Brian said she left a couple minutes ago, so she's somewhere.
Kim is looking for Janelle, and then Mary Solheim is here. So, did you hear all that?
I did, yes. And I see Supervisor Hamilton on video. And it looks like Cindy Jostin and Chairman Plimmel and some other telephone number on there as well, but I don't know who that is.
John Hokamp. Supervisor John Hokamp is on the phone.
All right.
What's that?
All right.
Yeah. All right, and for those of you on WebEx, Janelle has just arrived, so go ahead and have a seat, and we will make introductions. You guys don't need to see me, so sit down there. Just want to make introductions. Obviously, everyone, this is Janelle. Janelle, this is your first day, correct?
It is.
So probably a whirlwind, but we're glad you could be here. What I'm going to do is have everyone around the table and then WebEx introduce themselves. And maybe, if you can, just tell Janelle who you are, how you're associated with the committee or the county. So I will start. I'm Adam Fisher, the chair of this committee. Been on the county board since 2016 and am currently the vice chair. So go ahead.
My name is Bill Clendenning. I'm County Board Supervisor, Town Board Supervisor in the town of Grand Rapids, and I've been on the board 10 plus years.
Whiteman, District 19 County Board Supervisor, my 4th term. I guess interestingly for you, when this committee was first formed, it was a 3-member committee of two supervisors, I believe.
Right.
And then the committee was expanded, they asked me to join, so I'm a Johnny-come-lately.
Shannon Lobner, Wood County Child Support Agency. I'm here to note the minutes for this particular meeting.
Kim McGrath, Wood County Human Resources Director. I've been here 3 years. I'm not a member of the committee, but I've been joining the meetings since the inception.
And I'll keep writing if you're, all right, so Mary Solheim, Deputy Director over at Human Services. I likewise was not a part of the initial committee, but joined at a date subsequent to, I guess, the start of the committee, and leave it at that.
All right, and then Brent, why don't you start since you're on the committee?
I'm Brent Verwink, the Child Support Director. Everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
And
you hear
so,
us?
whoever spoke before Mary, they indicated they weren't on the committee, but that's about all I really heard, so I don't know who that was.
Okay.
That's me. This is Kim.
Did you hear that?
Mike's probably not picking up.
I think it was Kim?
That was Kim.
Okay,
We'll have
very
her
good.
talk loud. So,
I see Supervisor Hamilton is nodding, so he must have better ears or better audio than I do. But I assure you, I'm a little younger. Anyway,
But I'm cuter. So I'm Brad Hamilton, Supervisor, District 19. I'm also Alderman for the City of Nakusa. I've been on here since 2014. And Brent, well, you know, he drinks all the time, so. Just soda,
All right.
he drinks. I didn't say what it was.
Supervisor Holcamp, would you mind just introducing yourself, please?
Hello, Janelle. This is John Holcamp, Supervisor of District 13. Been on the board since April, so not very long on the board, but sure enjoying what I'm doing and hope to meet you soon.
All right, and then Cindy, if you could please introduce yourself, and then Lance to follow.
Hi, Janelle. I'm Cindy Jostin, Clerk of Court. I've been on Clerk of Court for 20 years. Welcome.
Hi, Janelle. I'm Lance Plimmel. I'm a County Board Supervisor. I'm the County Board Chairman, as well as the county's Administrative Coordinator. And I've been here about a quarter of a century. So looking forward to actually personally meeting you.
All right. We didn't realize it was that long, Lance. You don't look that old. So,
Started when I was a kid, Adam.
Have a quarter.
So there will be a quiz later. I'm joking, but no. I just wanted to make introductions. Obviously, several of the committee members, we were through the interview process with you, but since this is an open meeting, I just wanted to make sure that we did the proper introductions. I have asked Brent to kind of give an overview of what this committee has worked on, what we have done to this point, to give you some background. But before I do that, I would just like to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself again, share anything you'd like to with us about yourself and just what you hope to do with the position. So go ahead.
So I'm Janelle. I'm super excited to be here. I think Kim can attest to that. I probably was very flustered when she called me and I was like, yes. Didn't even think of what I should say at the moment. I'm trying to kind of reserve my what I hope for to kind of wait and see what you all want to see happen from this. I had the opportunity to attend drug court staffing just before this, and I met with the judge briefly, who shared that, oh, you know, the committee is going to be ending, and I really would like that to stay on for a little while. And so hopefully I was on the right path when I shared with him that while this committee may be transitioning, the intent is not for anything to end. The intent is really to see this transition into a criminal justice coordinating council. So, yeah.
I would like to use that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm chairman of the Judicial Legislative Committee, and this committee, this ad hoc committee, is in existence until March 1st. of 2021. So, and I would invite you to come to our meeting the first Friday of that's when we have them, the first Friday of the month. I believe that's the 4th or 5th.
Yep, I believe it's on my list.
November 6th.
November 6th.
Yes, I plan to be there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Janelle. So, Brent, I'm going to hand it over to you to kind of give an overview of what this committee has worked on up to this point. So,
Thank you, Supervisor Fisher. I'm going to try to do this all based on memory since my plan was to be in person today, but we've got one son that was out on quarantine for, it'll be 2 weeks on Wednesday. And then yesterday morning, we got a call from the school that my 4th grader is on quarantine until next week. So someone had to be home with him. He's just too young to leave home alone. And right now he's working on some school on the computer. And so I'm here. And so I'll do this based off memory. I do have a folder with a lot of information and details that I can certainly go over with you at some point. But I'll kind of go backwards and then get to where we are now today. And so everybody can still hear me okay?
yep, very good.
Very good. So the committee was formed, as alluded to by Supervisor Lightnum, originally a 3-person committee, and then later expanded a couple of times actually to get to its current form. And over the course of really since we started off really investigating and trying to figure out what a criminal justice coordinator position would look like in Wood County. We made, I guess I'd call them field trips on a real nasty day in January. We went over to Dunn County and left way too early in the morning and watched their court, met with their judge, met with their coordinator. They've got a very nice program, in my opinion. They do a really nice job. We learned a lot from Sarah and their staffings and how they do things. But what we really learned from them was that it's an evolution and it's a process. And so you might think you're going to go in a certain direction, and you might think if we just follow this model, things are going to be perfect and everything's going to work out. And then you end up really changing course. And we found they did that over time. And really, I think have developed a really nice program. And as things change, people change and processes change. And so with your experience coming from Sauk County and then I think in Marquette County, if I remember correctly, you've seen that and you've seen dynamics change and obviously funding situations change, whether it be grants or county levy and those types of things. And so you have to adjust. And we all do for that matter. And so we learned from Dunn County. You talked about the CJCC. They really have a nice model over there. Their membership is extensive. They've really thought about it and worked through it. So we do have that information. I think we'd like to share that with you, how they got to that and how they developed it and who was members of that committee as I think we worked towards developing that and a meeting structure. We went to Marathon County as well after the committee had expanded. So the initial trip was just the 3 pilot members along with HR Director McGrath. And then when we got to Marathon County, we were able to expand it, and the sheriff was able to go with us and the rest of the group. So actually, that was before Supervisor Lightnum and Supervisor Hamilton got on board. So it wasn't quite the full membership over there. And they do things differently. They've got basically a coordinator, and then everything else is pretty much contracted. Whereas in Dunn County, it's pretty much a county position type oriented program. And so they started off with temp employees in Dunn County and then worked their way to county employees after they could show the return on investment. ROI, return on investment, was something that's been continually talked about by the committee as we've done our work. We want to make sure that we're investing money wisely and that the county sees a return, not just a financial return for that matter, but a return for the community and the citizens that we are really tasked with serving. And so we want to make sure things are better for maybe our jail population, the offenders, and the other folks, as well as the community. Make sure things are just better for everybody. And the county board, over the course of this process, I think is starting to see opportunity. And opportunity, I think, is a really important word when we look at this committee, we look at this position and we look at the customers that we're to serve, is everybody really needs an opportunity to be successful. So from there, we started exploring courts. The idea of a youth mental health court was presented. It was explored. I think there's a real hunger for that type of program. Supervisor Fisher has been pretty passionate about it. Supervisor Lightnum as well. Supervisor Clendenning have all expressed a lot of support for that program. They engaged Judge Brazel about that program, and so that's kind of where we're at with that, and they can probably get into some more of those details. Sheriff Becker has talked to Judge Potter about an OWI court. There's been talk about, do we look at a hybrid court, OWI court / drug court? And those are all things that really have to be kind of flushed out yet. And so we came to a point as a committee where we realized that it was time to hire a coordinator and let them do that work. Really put together a program, present it to the judges, present it to the DA, bring everybody together and try to fully develop those programs. Because as a committee, we got to a point where, quite frankly, we were kind of spinning our wheels. We were going out and about trying to explore new options. And I think we all really liked the concepts of the programs that we were looked at, but we just weren't in a position really to get these things operational at this point. And so I think as a committee, over the course of the next several months, working with you and the Judicial and Legislative Committee to really put together some of these ideas and have you put them to reality. And so I think that's what we're excited about. I think everybody felt really good about you coming on board and really implementing kind of some of the thoughts and hopes that this committee has put forth.
All right. Thank you. Would you like to add anything? The only thing I would add is that, Brent, you did a great job giving the overview. Really, this committee was tasked by the Judicial and Legislative Committee, which is the oversight committee, to one, hire somebody, but try to put together a basic framework for you to build off of. And Brent did a great job of just sharing that process. We did do a lot of exploration. As Supervisor Clendenning shared, this committee is in existence until March. I believe it was March 1st. So we are here to be a support to you in those transitional months, but also, we're not going to meet to just meet. So I think that's a conversation we need to have with you, is where you see this committee being helpful to you.
Okay.
And how we can come alongside in the months to follow, without also getting in your way.
Sure.
We don't want to get in the weeds, and we want to be able to let you do what you want to do. So those, I think, are some probably future conversations that we need to have as a committee with you, and get your feedback on. But we are very excited to have you here and have this position. I will share this. I was honestly, Supervisor Clendenning likes to remind me of this sometimes. I was a skeptic when it was first presented to us as a county board, but the more I've learned, the more I now see what Chairman Plemmel and Supervisor Clendenning spoke to on the county board floor, believing that this would have a great ROI if we actually funded it and believed in it. And I have now come to realize they're right, and so I'll admit I was wrong, which is very hard to do when you're in politics, but I was wrong. And so I believe in this position, and I can't wait to see what we create as a county and what you bring to the table. So thank you for saying yes.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else anyone would like to add? All right, then I'm going to look. Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor.
Yeah, I do, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I hope this is the appropriate time to do this.
Sure.
But if it isn't, which has been a few minutes later anyway, I was looking over the position description that we functioned under in hiring you, Janelle, and under responsibilities 1L, it says, make oral and written presentations to this ad hoc committee and to JNL and other county board committees as requested and the community. Well, I'm gonna share something with you I'm not so sure I should share, but when we ended up sunsetting, there was a meeting, in the last JNL meeting, I guess. And that vote was very close. That was a 3-2 vote. We really didn't know how it was gonna go. But what I'm thinking is that with you coming on board on today, October 26th, you would have, between now and the time we sunset, you would have 4 months. You'd have November, December, January, and February to kind of look through your job's position, the description, and see where we are. You will have met all the people where we want to go. So to meet that 1L, to make an oral or written presentation to the Ad Hoc Criminal Justice Committee and the JNL Committee, I'm thinking, Mr. Chairman of JNL, I'm thinking that presentation should be not only to this Ad Hoc Committee, but to JNL. Because there are still skeptics on the county board, as the chairman of this Ad Hoc Committee described for you. And I would like to, after you've had 4 months, I would like you to present to those combined committees. To me, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I just kind of sprung this on everybody. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. But you'll know a whole lot in 4 months. And, you know, it is part of the description of your job.
Absolutely.
And I would have asked you to do that for this ad hoc committee on one of the last days of February. But I think that's just a matter now of us playing with date a little bit. So, and I guess I'm just asking the rest of the ad hoc committee how they feel about that suggestion.
All right, I'm gonna open that up for discussion. Since that question was posed, how does the committee feel about that?
I think it's a great idea, and I think your inquiries can be to this committee, it can be to any county board supervisor outside. I have no problem. My biggest fear is when it came to the county board and it was 7 votes against it. And 7 votes out of 19, I thought, I don't like that close of a vote. And what are people thinking, why they don't want this? And so, well, that's why I got on it, and the committee itself would only appoint 2 supervisors and a department head. So we worked from there and we worked up this far, and that's still out there, that haunts me as to why people, I'm a you know, youth drug court, I'm so much for that. I have 3 children, and I have one of my members of my family drug and alcohol abuse, and I just, you know, think there should be something for you. So, but that's only my thoughts. But I would hope you would listen to a lot of people. I listened to a lot of people before we brought this before the county board, and that's where I stand. And I welcome you.
Anyone else? Well, I'll jump in. I think it's a fine idea. Honestly, I think at some point you have to present to JNL, Judicial and Legislative, you know, if this committee is still in existence, which it sounds like Bill wants it at this time, I think that's fine. Hopefully by that point you'll have some ideas of where you want to see this go. You know, I think overall, my feeling is the county board is supportive, but I mean, Supervisor Clendenning has alluded there's always going to be people who are skeptics. I was one of them initially. So I think anytime we can give you a platform to share and to help people understand the ROI involved with this program, I agree with Supervisor Leitner. I think that's a good idea. So I'm very supportive of that. I think really, I guess my only reservation is I don't want to put a time frame on it. I guess that's my thought. I mean, if you're ready in December, let's have it be December. If it's February, it's February. If it's March, it's March. I mean, I want you to feel comfortable whenever that is to make that presentation. So I guess my only reservation would be I don't necessarily want to put a time frame on it, but just leave it open to ideally before this committee sunsets that you have that presentation. I don't know how you feel about that, Supervisor Lightman.
That's fine.
So, all right. Brad or Brent, do you have any further thoughts on what Supervisor Lightman shared?
No, that sounds good to me, but just remember, March 1st, we're done, so unless you can prepare it before then, 4 months is after March 1st.
Yep.
Well, I just want to say that March 4th, you're not done. You're going to be with the J&L until you get this well organized, and you'll probably be on your own.
Yeah, and I was talking about
you after March 1st.
Right.
I was talking about CJC committee. CJC is done
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
And I would say too, I mean, I think from my perspective, being as visible as I can be within the county right now is gonna be really helpful. So I plan on attending the committee meetings, the county board meeting, reaching out to supervisors, reaching out to departments, both within county government and externally. So who are those partners? And really starting to have some of those conversations, because oftentimes what I've found is that skepticism lies in a personal connection to something. Not always, but oftentimes that's a piece of it. And so again, getting at, what common goals do we share? I would imagine for all of the county board supervisors, at least one of their goals is to, enhance the services that we're able to provide to the constituents that they serve. And how we can do that in a fiscally responsible way, I'm sure is also one of their goals. And so starting to have those conversations, and again, just being very present, so people are seeing me, they're talking to me, and building those relationships is going to be really helpful.
One of the things is it started out with the Criminal Justice Task Force, and they've been working on this for about 2 years, and then finally, the judge said, let's get a committee together. So that's, I got put on a committee along with some other people, and this is as far as we've got.
All right. I mean, do you have any questions for us? Anything you would like to know as far as what we've been doing? I don't want to cut you off. I feel like there's a consensus, Supervisor Lightman, unless you wanted an official motion.
Consensus is fine.
Okay. I'm going to do what Donna Rose are. So we're going to do this by consensus. We would just like ideally by the end of February, but at your leisure, a presentation. But do you have any questions? Anything you want to know from us as a committee?
So I guess the question would be, do you foresee that a new committee take action, a criminal justice coordinating council that would tie together probably some of you that are on this ad hoc committee, and also likely some of the people who are on the criminal justice task force? Or is the thought to have this position report to J&L and start to build without that other committee?
I think from a current standpoint, so I'm just talking currently, Judicial and Legislative is the oversight committee for the Criminal Justice Coordinator.
Okay.
The Sheriff's Department has kind of been tasked with being also providing some oversight and some support. So, from a budgeting standpoint, they are willing to help you, support you. Randy Dorhurst, the Chief Deputy, in my opinion, is one of the best budgeting people in the county. So I think you're going to be lucky to have him as an asset. But that's currently what has been decided. I think Frankly, and this is just my opinion, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, I think you have a lot of room to grow. So, you know, I've had conversations with one of the judges, and they, you know, they shared with me privately, you know, they believe the task force in its current format might need to be shaken up a bit. And maybe that's what you're alluding to when you talk about the council, but I know a lot of other counties are doing criminal justice councils. You know, we, in our tours, came across that. We currently run under the format of what's called a criminal justice task force. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never gone to the task force. I believe Chairman Plimmel has, so maybe he can add some insight there. I think there's some similarities, but I do think some of these other counties, their councils are much more involved in the process. And so I think if that's a direction you want to go, I think it can be accomplished, but it's going to have to go through just some of the proper channels to make that happen. So it's probably going to have to go to judicial and legislative, which would be a good reason, as Supervisor Leichner mentioned earlier, to have that presentation. So people can understand what is the council, how does it differ from the task force, you know, and you might have to answer some of those questions practically, like does the task force kind of evolve into the council? But I think, personally, I think since this is new, you, like I said earlier, you have a lot of room to grow. And I think you will have people who are supportive because we want to see this succeed. So, I mean, that's my take. I don't know how the rest of the members, if they agree or disagree. Yeah.
If I can address Janelle, I've heard you mention council twice. So that's what you worked under in Marquette County. What was the membership in that council?
So not in Marquette County. Marquette County, when I started there, I mean, it was light years behind where you guys are at. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they might have some of the CJCC, but in Sauk County. And so the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, I would say the way that the state sets it forth in terms of best practice is really those decision makers across the criminal justice system, along with specific county board supervisors. So you would be looking at chair or vice chair of the county board. Typically you have whichever county board supervisor chairs the human services committee, and then also the judicial and legislative committee. So you have that representation from the county board. You have representation from you know, your human services director, deputy director. You have representation from Department of Corrections, probation and parole. You have the sheriff and a jail administrator. And so it really is, it's all of these people, local law enforcement, constituents. So typically 2 or 3 members of the public who would kind of apply to be represented on that. And you have this core group of voting members who basically, and so the way that we did it in Sauk County is, and I'm not necessarily saying we should be this complicated because it got to be kind of complicated sometimes, but so I reported to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and then while I didn't directly report, I would frequently also give reports to Human Services Board, J&L, and then I reported to the administrative coordinator, which I know here, and then the county board. So I had lots of people, but really it was, and then we had subcommittees too. So those work groups, those task force groups, which is in essence what the Criminal Justice Task Force is. And so ideas would kind of start at that level. I would put pieces together, present information. The committee, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, would vote on those things. And then, if carried, they would go forward to the county board, and I would carry them to the county board. And so it does get complex. And so are there areas to kind of simplify things? Sure. I think the piece that makes that structure really special is that you have buy-in at that level. So when you get to the county board, I mean, I'd like to say all of the I's have been dotted and all of the T's have been crossed, and you have system-wide buy-in already. And you've got motivation and vested interest too, right? Because if the sheriff is sitting at the table with Department of Corrections and the district attorney making a decision about, maybe for instance, you know, how we're gonna treat a certain sort of offense, we're gonna do some sort of a diversion, and so we've got the judge, the DA, the sheriff, the jail administrator, all at the table talking about those things. By the time we get to implementation, we can just go, we can do it, because the decision makers are the people who have figured all of those pieces out together. So that's one option. You know, the other option is having more of that work group structure, where, you know, we're still getting together with the key players, there's just maybe not as many steps to go through. And so kind of work group structure, and then me reporting to JNL, and then from there.
Okay.
So I think, I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it. I think that's actually one of the nice things about, you know, oftentimes people set their target and create their committee and then go. I think you guys are actually building it in probably the proper order. I think oftentimes people hire a coordinator after the fact, and so I think that there's room to really make that, to customize that in a way that works best for Wood County.
And I'll have to agree with you, because, and this is where I got it from, is I've been on this county board, I think 18 years, and I used to be on O'Share County Board.
Okay.
But this is kind of where I got it from, going to the Criminal Justice Task Force. And seeing all the time, we're talking about this criminal justice coordinator, and I didn't know who it was, and I would go to a lot of the conferences, especially the county's conferences, and hear all about it there. And I would talk to different people, and different people would say to me, I can't think of her name, but that person that we first saw in the first person I saw first.
I think it was Sarah from Dunn County.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll always talk to her, and then she told me, get with the school districts and things like that. They, you know, do they think we need this in this county? And so I did that, and then I come along with going to the Criminal Justice Task Force. That's where I see you. Just sitting at the table with those people, when they make those decisions, I think this has to be done, they make the decision and it's done. It don't go back to the county board, it don't go to anyone. They make that decision, and that's why I can see this transpire. I would say by this time in the year 2021, I see you reporting to what you said, the Health and Human Services Committee, the GNL Committee, and that's what I see.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly, in my opinion. I see you. I'd like to see you oversee have one committee that really oversees you. But I think, and maybe this is what you mean, Supervisor Clinton, I think there can be a collaborative approach.
Absolutely.
But sometimes if you have too many people officially providing oversight, I think it could lend to have a problem.
Right, and I would say that's structure that I explained. I mean, that added a lot of complexity because there were a lot of people overseeing things. So,
I mean, I think, I will say this, I think judicial and legislative at this point in time is the oversight committee, so I don't see that changing. I think it's healthy to communicate to the Health and Human Services Committee because I think they probably have a place, maybe even the Public Safety Committee. But you should just at this point assume judicial and legislative is the oversight. You know, they're going to approve the budget. They're going to do the evaluations at this point in time. If the council is something you believe in, I would encourage you to start working on putting together that idea.
okay.
And maybe that's part of that presentation that you give whenever you think you're ready for that. You know, and you know, the problem is I don't know, and maybe Lance can answer this question. I don't know how often the task force has met. Have they even met since COVID, Lance?
No, I don't believe so. We might have had, you know, a very quick conversation, virtual meeting, but no, we really haven't. Everything's kind of been put on hold. The one thing I will assure Janelle is we will figure out a lineal line of reporting. You will not, although I have a lot of good friends in Sauk County. I spent a lot of times with Attorney Phillips in all of the lawsuits we've been through, and we have nobody suing anybody in our county, at least not each other. We want to make sure that you're comfortable in your role, that you have the people that will support you, such as Adam and the rest of this committee and/or the Judicial and Legislative Committee. But we want to have a comfortable work environment for you, where you can do what I was assured you can do by some of the people in Sauk County. So I appreciate having you here, and we'll certainly figure out those lines of communication. And a lot of it's going to be at your advice as well, having done this. And that's part of the reason and part of what you brought to this table that I think made you, I don't know, such a, you know, a desirable applicant for that position. So thank you, and thanks for being here. I know that didn't help a lot, Adam, but that's my 2 cents.
No, I just was curious because as we were talking about it, I was like, I don't think we've had one.
No, we really haven't. We've had some conversations between us, but no, and actually, Janelle is the person where we're looking for direction, you know, on that committee, actually, because that's a direction it should go.
Yeah, and I think having an ongoing conversation with the judges is a good idea because, like I kind of alluded to, I mean, I had one conversation, and that one conversation was they love the task force, but they're like, you know what, we need some new blood, we need something to re-energize. And so if that's the council, that's great, but I think the sooner you can put that idea together and bring it back to us or to judicial and legislative, the better.
Perfect.
So.
And I know Kim provided me a list of the task force members and their contact information, so I'll start reaching out to them. I know Wednesday, I think my day is pretty open, so I will be reaching out and starting to put that stuff together.
All right. I do want to discuss kind of next steps. So obviously Supervisor Leichnam mentioned a presentation. I think that's one thing that we need to be mindful of. But what would you like to see, Janelle? Is there anything you'd like to see from us in the immediate future?
Or what you don't want to see.
Or you don't want to see. I agree. Because I want to walk a real thin line here, and I'm just going to share this with the committee. I don't want to meet just to meet.
Yeah.
There's nothing productive about that. But we are in existence, and so I want to be a help to you as a committee if you need it. So you don't have to necessarily answer that question now,
okay.
But just even think about it. What we can, is there anything we can provide you?
Sure.
In the weeks, months to come. And then probably communicate with me. Kim has kind of been my support staff, and she's done a great job with this committee. So just email her and I,
okay.
And we can kind of put together the next meeting then if the committee's okay with that.
Okay.
Is that sufficient? I'm not hearing the opposition. So
No, I agree.
I do have one question.
Sure, go ahead.
The task force, is that structured in a way that requires open meeting,
Yes.
all of that, okay. That's just helpful to know, so scheduling wise and,
The GNL committee has made me a member of that.
Okay.
And I do go to it.
Because
okay,
you're a member of that, and Lance is a
Yeah.
member of that. Lance, you're a member of that too, correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Anything else that needs to come before the committee?
I would say some
ahead.
things that I'll just be kind of blunt like I generally am, but I think it's important to really understand the role and the position. And what I mean by that is, and I think Supervisor Clendenny maybe wasn't, he kind of alluded to it, but he wasn't real clear earlier. So maybe he'll call me later and be angry with me for saying
Just remember,
this.
you got
But as a department head, which essentially you are, and answering to the Judicial Legislative Committee, you're going to be responsible for a monthly report, and I think that's important to keep the Judicial Legislative Committee up to date monthly, and you'll see other departments that answer to that committee provide a monthly report. Now, the one for November will be due this Thursday, so that would be too soon, but I would think attending, I mean, I've always been told that essentially attendance is mandatory, but Supervisor Clendenny alluded to that you were invited to the meeting. So I don't know if that means I've always been invited and not required to come. And if so, that's nice to know. But generally attendance, I think, has always been required by the departments that answer to the committee. And they hold those meetings on the first Friday of the month. And so the report is generally due to the clerk the week before, basically updating kind of priorities and things that you've worked on over the course of the previous month. And I think getting into that habit and providing that report for the committee is going to be a really good way to kind of introduce yourself, but also let them know about the work that you've been up to. And at the same point, vouchers are due as well to that committee as far as expenses, and so they can approve those vouchers. And those are all important things that are going to have to be done and taken care of on a monthly basis. So monthly report, and I guess I look to Chairman Clendenny of that committee if he requires attendance or if it's just an invitation. But my understanding has always been it's been required. And if you're not able to make it, then you let the chair know, or and I presume Supervisor Clendenny will appoint a liaison to you like he has done to every other department as well. And as far as the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, I can, if you don't have it, provide the list of the membership. They've got a booklet that we received from Dunn County as well. I can give that to you so you can look over that membership, and they kind of summarize it pretty well. And so that might be useful information for you.
It's just to remind you that we have reviews of our department heads at our next meeting.
Yeah, and I see that, I don't know how that impacts raises this year since we're just going into a new pay plan. So I thought I might have been safe not having a great review.
At least till July 1st, yeah.
do you have a standard template for a monthly report that you?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Everybody kind of uses a different one, really.
Do they?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say the same thing. I sit on multiple committees.
Okay.
A lot of them have used a different template, but we can obviously get you something. Kim, and if you want to maybe help her with that, I'm sure we can get you something to work with.
I don't have a consent agenda. No, we don't put a bunch of stuff together and say, yeah, we read it, never mind.
All right. Any other questions that you have for us?
Not yet.
Okay.
I will likely be reaching out to everyone.
Yep. No, that's understandable. So thank you again for taking the job. We were all pleased to get that announcement. And please do not be afraid to reach out to us. I think everyone around this table and on WebEx, we are all very supportive. We want to see you and this program succeed. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And is it all right if afterwards, anybody want to see your office? I haven't seen it.
Be careful, you might get locked in the hallway. That's actually why I was a couple minutes late. My card wouldn't let me in, and then when I got in, I could not get back out.
Oh no.
And I was like afraid to push too hard on the door because I didn't want to break the magnet sensor. I did finally get out though.
All right, unless there's anything else that needs to come before the meeting in the committee today. If not, we're not going to set a meeting at this point. I will work with Janelle if we need to set a future meeting and when. So I will adjourn this meeting at 2:20. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day, everybody.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Adam.
Yep, thank you.